Hey LAN party gamers, welcome to Custom Corner. This is the newest installment to the San Diego LAN channel. We're going to be showing you custom computers built by LAN community members here and abroad. We'd like to show you 4 computers that I've built to get us started. This is the Titanfall Dell. This is one of the first times I worked with Plexi and one of the first times I modified one of our Dells from the LAN center. It has a cutout of the Titanfall A on the side, which I've glued a set of plexiglass on the inside of. It's got a 3-stripe pattern and hexagons that go from darker to lighter as it goes down the case. On the front, we used a smaller hexagon pattern that I used a stencil and spray paint to get the effect of. We also did the DVD drive, and what was actually harder than I thought, and I had to try it a couple times, was putting the Titanfall logo right over the Dell logo on the front. We've got the SDL logo and the NVIDIA logo for tags. We have a donated monitor that was around the same size as the other Dell monitors that we were using before, but it has integrated speakers. So when we did Oculus Rift DK1 demos, this is the computer we would use, and that way we wouldn't have to provide a headset every time. If somebody just wanted to try out like the roller coaster demo or something, they had built-in speakers. Or if we had a game that we had a demo of and we were doing it at a show, we wouldn't have to bring headphones either. We could just use the built-in speakers. On the back side, the stripes come around and perfectly match up with this line here. You've got all the inputs that you would normally have on the other Dells, and you get a showing of some more of the coloring that we did. We painted all of the slats here that cover the PCI brackets black, the holder for it orange to match the rest of the case, and the I/O panel area is all white. On the top of the case, we've got a handle that recesses into the case, and it actually is spring so that you can just have it hide away when you let go of it. And also the Oculus Rift's DK1 box fits right into there, so it actually holds it down as you use it so somebody doesn't walk away with it. It was not meant for that, but it actually worked quite nicely. On the inside of the case, we painted everything on the inside as well. We had an orange power supply, which has been since swapped out so it can power a more powerful GPU. The original GPU is the GTX 750 that was in our low power video that you might have seen. We custom painted the shroud, the fan area, and other sections of here orange, and as well as we used blue and orange cables to try and accentuate those as well, and then we offset that with the white on the inside. I'm very happy with the way this case came out. This is our test bench. This is going to be a mainstay of the San Diego LAN channel. We're going to be using this to do all of our benchmarking of video cards, SSDs, NVMe SSDs, and more. You're going to be seeing a lot of this, as it's going to be definitely showing up in a lot of videos coming up soon. This used to be a Dell case. We cut off the power supply and hard drive bay areas, as well as the side panels, and moved all of that underneath so that we have a nice box. This keeps it very simple in order for us to move parts in and out of the test bench. In order to do that, I used a grinder with a cutting wheel and then re-welded the parts that I cut off underneath. Then we spray painted and sanded the whole thing to give it the look you see here. Inside the hard drive bay, I had to make custom holders because the holders that it came with would not fit anymore. So I cut these out of the side panel. On our test bench, we're rocking an i7-2600. That's 4 cores with hyper-threading, 16 gigs of DDR3, and an Asus Maximus 4, which is an MATX SLI certified motherboard. We wanted to make sure and have a test bench that was able to do SLI so that we can do reviews on SLI and Crossfire cards coming up in the future. This is the ammo can computer that lives in our living room. This is also something I like to call my gift computer because the vast majorities of the computer parts in this case were gifts from users and friends of mine. One nice thing about this case is that it still retains its water seal and everything is inside of it except for the monitor. So if we take off the cover, we have a portable mounted keyboard that's held on with Velcro, as well as a glued-in mouse pad, all inside the cover here. We have a nice long cable For the keyboard, we have a mouse that I bought specifically for this case because it matched and it's wireless. We have a custom button that lifts up and presses. This was a gift from my friend who used to have a ammo can computer, which we put in a regular case after the fact because it was falling apart. So he gave us this as a thank you for that case. We have a cable that powers a custom LED array underneath the cabinet so you can actually see what you're typing if the house lights aren't on. Another gift that we were given was the GPU. This is rocking a GTX 560 Ti so that you can play games like Overwatch and Rocket League, not maxed out, but it definitely gets the job done. The other specs in the case, it's got a quad-core Phenom X4 processor and 4 gigs of DDR2. Unfortunately, that maxed out this motherboard, but it was a gift and we didn't have to pay for it, so we're not complaining. In order to build this case, it was pretty straightforward. I went on Newegg or Amazon and I found a computer case that was the exact same width and length as the inside of the case here. Then all I had to do was pop it in and cut off the case so that it fit snugly, but not so much that I couldn't put the top back on it. The inside of this is a bit of a jumble of wires, but the way that it works for airflow, which I get a lot of questions about, is that I used an Intel fan from a CPU that sucks all of the air straight down past the GPU. It then flows past the GPU and then back up through all of the other fans in the case and out the other side. So it's basically a big U. We use this primarily as our print server here in the house. We don't do a lot of printing, as you can imagine, in this day and age, but we have one centralized printer, and this thing pretty much takes care of that. It was originally purposed as a seed box, so if we ever to do any torrenting or large downloads, it is a relatively low power system that we didn't mind leaving on so other people could use it. This is the Dreamcast computer. This was my entry into the 2014 Colorado Intel LAN Fest. This also hosted all of the Artemis games that weekend. This was a computer that I personally have always wanted to build. I really love retro mod cases. And so for this build at the time, I wanted to do something that had the GPU and the CPU integrated. Because as you can tell, the chassis is not big enough to hold a separate graphics card. So I found a power supply that I could actually plug in on the outside of the case, externally, that runs inside the case and plugs into all the motherboard headers, also powers the hard drive and the LEDs. The LED on the front is attached to the motherboard so that when you turn on the computer, you get the red LED shining through the original plexi of the computer case. The power button works as well. It does turn on the computer, and the open button, it doesn't do anything. However, the computer's hinge I did rebuild so that you can open and close it. The original heatsink wasn't quite up to snuff with gaming. However, I could close the computer all the way. I replaced it with a little bit higher profile heatsink and fan to keep it from overheating when we do our streams every Tuesday. This is a computer that we use for game streaming on the couch during the Screen Lookers content, as well as a lot of our local multiplayer stuff we do here at the LAN. Inside the case, you'll find a quad-core APU. This is an A10 FM2 Plus computer with 8 gigs of 2133 megahertz DDR3. I tried to get the highest speed stuff I could because the GPU runs off the same RAM as the CPU. The motherboard also comes with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Because if it's such a small case, I wanted to be able to bring it to shows and let it do downloads and connections without having to find network wherever it might be. On the back side, we have the full I/O cutout so that you can plug in all the peripherals. I was able to use the original I/O panel from the motherboard. I did, however, have to sacrifice pretty much all of the internal plastic of the case to get all this to fit. So a lot of the cutouts that the Dreamcast used, like the modem cutout and the expansion bays on the other side, I did have to remove and then glue back together in order to get it all to fit in there. There's an intake fan on the side, which is a high CFM fan, and then there's an outtake fan on the other side where the original outtake fan used to be for the Dreamcast. This also has a 256 gig solid state that we put in a custom bay underneath the motherboard that we had to use a little bit of extra plastic as a cutout. Before you get mad, this Dreamcast was already dead before I started this project. I use the internals to keep my current Dreamcast up and running. So that is our Dreamcast computer, as well as the other rigs that I'd show you today. I hope you enjoyed the custom systems that I've made, and we'd love to see some of yours on the channel. If you'd like to drop by, we'd love to show them off. You can check out our upcoming events on SanDiegoLAN.net. Don't forget to check out our social media, everything from Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch /SanDiegoLAN. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.